when we realize or come to the realization that whatever you're seeing outside of you is a reflection of what's inside. When you smile in the mirror, the world is that mirror, except it doesn't go by what you look like, it goes by what you feel like, is what's on the inside.
Hello, this week, I am so thrilled to say that I have with me David Hanzel, psychic medium, and someone every time I get to see him, I am so excited in anticipation, and just he immediately puts a smile on my face. So, David Hanzel, before I say welcome, let me just give a little info. If you want to learn about him, go to theywhispertome.com. I've had a couple of readings, both life-changing in the most positive way possible, so I encourage you to check them out. Today, we're going to be talking about manifesting. And he also, because I said this at the end of the episode last time, which aired on August 15th, that if you have questions for David, he's going to be here once a month. Send them to me, Coach Kristin Taylor at gmail.com. And I have 2 questions, actually from a dear friend that he will be answering. And then we'll talk about manifesting. But welcome back, David.
Thank you. It's good to be back. I'm excited. I like to, I love doing this. I like talking to these guys. So it's my favorite part of the day.
How lucky are we?
Looks like it's almost now. So I got to step out of the way. So it's kind of nice.
I love it. I love it. Well, you were gracious enough. I have a dear, dear friend. Love her with every part of who I am. Her name is Kate. And she has recently, as in the last week, lost. We're going to start with 2 people. We'll start with the first one, Stacey. And does Stacey have a message for Kate and her loved ones and family?
Okay, so we kind of talked about Stacey and Meriwether Perez. Thank you. They're supposed to know that she really wasn't suffering as much as what people thought she was. She was in and out. There was a woman coming to greet her. Actually, was coming to the room. A spirit of a woman who was coming to the room to, let's say, collect her at some point. But she started seeing these things a little bit beforehand. Just because of the fact that, what, hon? Okay. Mm-hmm. No, you're funny. Okay, so just because she's really sweet, she's a really nice lady. Before she had Alzheimer's, she was I don't know, she's very sweet. Thank you. You're fine. You're back to where you were. Thank you. She's back. She's back to where she were. She wanted to tell everybody, thank you for holding her hand. I don't know what that means to anybody. Thank you for holding her hand. It was very peaceful for her, even though it may not have looked as such. A lot of times when we think people have these kind of disorders, that they're going through some sort of pain all the time or some sort of, like acid trip or some weird thing in their head, and they're not. We observe that from the outside because it might be part of our lesson to observe that, to see it, to understand it. She wasn't there half the time. So she was leaving in and out, and she tried to stay on as long as she could, because a few people needed to, and I don't know if this was a brother or sister or something like that, it felt really close, somebody that was there, like close by. She needed to let them come to terms with something, and that's what she was waiting on. And even though those people think that they may not have come to terms yet, that was the best she could wait for. It was time. It was time. So she kind of hung on past, she hung on kind of a little longer than she wanted to be here. Thank you. Do you have a sign? Did you send something? Did you? Thank you. I don't know if it's mom. Is her mom still here?
Yes.
Thank you. Tell her mom to pay attention to the birds that come through.
Okay.
Tell it to the birds. thank you. They'll be in the sky and they're like a lone bird. Um, and that's her. Thank you. Well, that's sweet. You can say it. She said, should I tell her that that's me flying high in heaven? And I said, sure, that's perfect. She's really, really funny about it. She's got really good spirits about it. Mind the pun, she's fine. She's concerned about her family, of course, a bit, but she said she's only concerned because of the sadness they're going through. She did say, I already know in time they're used to this. I don't know what that means. They're used to this.
Okay.
And she said part of them, their grieving started when I got sick anyway. And she said she wants them to know that grief for that sickness is okay. But she said, you no longer have to grieve for that sickness because it's not affecting me at all. And so she's fine and she'll be around. Thank you, Stacey Ann. I'll talk to you again, I'm sure.
Can I ask one more question of Stacey?
Sure.
And this is, and I love that it's for her family, but I own that Kate is my dear friend. Does she have anything in particular to say to Kate?
Does Stacey have anything to say to Kate?
Yeah. Can you ask her?
Stacey. She keeps showing me a lot of water, and I don't know if she's down by the beach or down by the coast or something like that. And she's putting it out as a memory to me. So I don't know where they went together. Something that's like sisters forever. It almost, in a way, it feels like, sweetie, can you give me a little bit more, a little bit more? I know you're new. Give me a little bit more. Thank you. Perfect. Please tell Kate that she loves her, and every time she feels the tingle down her back, that's her. She just gave it to me, so I felt it. Thank you, honey. I know. I have to step aside, sweetie. Okay. She's gonna make me cry if I don't step aside, so hold on a minute. Did you get it? Did you get it? She wants to make sure she gets something or she got something. She's supposed to get something from or want something. I don't know what it is. It's more than a picture. It's something else. I don't know if it's a kind of jewelry or amulet or something with a picture in it. Okay. There's something. She keeps putting it in my hand. She's like, sure, okay. It's yours. Okay. If you can get that to me during the broadcast, I'll totally bring it. Okay. She loves Kate very much. And tell Kate to pay attention. Kate needs to become more aware of the things around her because she said she's letting everything go by her. And she says she's got to stay focused. She's got to stay focused. She said, you wouldn't have listened to me when I was there, but you have to listen to me now. Stay focused, she said. And become aware of everything around you. You'll see me in it. You'll see me in it.
Okay.
And that's about all I can kind of.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you, Stacey.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, no, I like her.
You can't not like Stacey. Yeah.
Oh, is she really? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, she's really nice. She was kind of trying not to be serious because she said she didn't want to be serious. She says, I don't want to be serious. I don't want to be serious. I really don't have to be.
Yeah.
So,
no, Stacey had a huge smile, great sense of humor. Yeah, I remember her. All right, then the next one. Thank you so much. Suzy. Mm-hmm. Suzy, if she has messages for her family and her sister. Kate is good friends with her sister.
Okay. Suzy is who passed?
Yes, Suzy.
Okay, I wouldn't quite. Oh, yeah, she came in real quickly. Okay. Suzy. Thank you. I kind of feel sick within my body, so I'm not quite sure what she had. It's kind of going up everywhere. It's kind of taking over everything. Does that make sense to you?
It does, yes.
Okay. A disease, sweet? She doesn't want to call it a disease. She wants to call it my way. Can you come back? No, you look good. You do now. I know, right? I was a mess before I left. She said she didn't look so. She said, I look good now. Please tell them.
Yeah. Similar to Peggy's situation.
You didn't want to go back. Thank you. I could have stayed a little bit more. I didn't want to go back. She had quite some physical pain. It was really quite annoying. And when if people hear me and they say pain is annoying, to a spirit, it's nothing more than an annoyance. To us, it's like, oh my God, but
Yeah.
so their memory of it is an annoyance. It's gone. She wants to talk about 2 children and a puppy or a dog. I don't know what that is.
No, neither. I didn't
They
know
might
Suzy.
know what it is,
Yeah.
but she's telling me she sees a brown. Thank you, hon. That's all I can get from you. She sees a brown dog over there. It's kind of nice, but there's children playing with it. So I don't know what that means. If there were, maybe somebody lost some children within that family at some point or something, or, who knows what it could be.
Okay.
She's not really giving me the answer.
Okay.
She's really recent, isn't she?
Yes, they're both really recent.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's why. It's like, I know you got stuff to do. I know you see it all. Please tell them that what? Okay. No, okay, we'll go with that. She wants that family and friends to please know that everything it's not what they told us. It's not what they told us. It's better.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. I don't know if she's speaking religiously wise or just from people as well, but she said it's not. She's floored. She's remembering who she is.
Mm.
I've been there before. I said, yeah, I know that. They won't believe it, but I know it. She said she's been here before. She's letting me reincarnate.
Yeah.
She's reincarnation or something. So she's been here
Yeah.
before. She didn't remember how to get. Once she left out of the body, she said, I remembered, so I didn't go back.
Mm.
I'm sorry I had to leave, she said. Thank you for the kisses. I don't know what that means.
Okay.
If you come back during this and you be a little stronger, I will totally help gain the weight.
Mm.
So whatever that means, I don't know what that
Okay.
means. She's taking it in a good way, not a bad way.
Okay.
Well, I think you're very beautiful, hon. Thank you. I will tell them. She said she'll be in touch.
Okay.
So tell them to just pay attention to their dreams. She's going to try that.
Okay.
Okay. So they just have to, when they wake up, do that.
Okay. Thank
I'm sorry.
you.
I'm sorry for your losses, you guys. I know it sucks. And I really wish everybody could see it from my angle as much as I get sad, not for the passing, but I get sad for the grief that's left behind. There's absolutely nothing anybody on the other side can really do to take that away from you because of the fact you have to experience it. It's part of the reason you came here. So you have to go through the experience of it. But she said, it's okay. In time, you'll realize I'm there. I'm just in the next room. I'm just in the next room. That's it.
I love that.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you
welcome.
so much. Okay. I know that will mean so, so, so much. Thank you. All right.
My pleasure.
Let's transition because last we spoke, I remember you saying, and I just watched the episode as well, and you said, if people only understood how easy manifesting was, and I said, let's make sure next episode we talk some about manifesting.
Yes. I'm glad, it's very synchronistic. I said that, but I don't remember saying because, but this week was talking to these guys about manifesting. So just getting this. And I don't know if anybody is a fan of Neville Goddard. He talks about the law of assumption or the principle of assumption, which is it's like the law of attraction, like twofold. I mean, it's way bigger. It's even easier. When we realize or come to the realization that whatever you're seeing outside of you is a reflection of what's inside. So when you smile in the mirror, your reflection, if you smile, your reflection smiles back. If you do a fist bump, it's fist bumps you back. If you frown, it's back. The world is that mirror, except it doesn't go by what you look like. It goes by what you feel like as much, or what's on the inside. So If you wake up in the morning and you're a bad day, and you said that to yourself, bad day, everything's bad day, the world is going to reflect exactly that emotion to you. It's not going to, and people say, why isn't the world or the universe trying to cheer me up? It's like, well, they can't. You have to do it first. If you do it, they will bring you a billion things that day to cheer you up. And that's basically all manifesting stuff is. It is focusing on something. I don't know if anybody's ever played like Candy Crush or something like that on their phone, and they're playing it for a while. And all of a sudden, every time they win, if you notice when you win and you get something, you are hyper focused. And all of a sudden you won. That's basically what manifesting is. It's just being hyper focused on something. It's living that feeling. And this works for all aspects. When I was doing mediumship years ago, the voices that spoke to me a lot of times were my own voice. They were using my voice. And I was like, stop it, please. I sat there one day. I'm like, no, don't use mine, because I don't trust myself. So I don't know who's who. And I said, you know what? I hear you guys separately. And I said, that's just it. You guys got to come in separately. I hear you separately. And I told somebody that day, I'm like, I hear them separately now. I'm not even going to deal with it. And it was like the very next reading I did, all of a sudden this voice came in and I was like, I know who you are. And I started I manifested. Now people are oh, is that some kind of mind trick you're doing to yourself? Well, maybe it is, but you know what? It doesn't matter. If the mind trick works, why aren't you using it?
Yeah.
And in manifesting isn't a trick. It's literally what we do. If every house you see that's been built, somebody imagined it first. They drew it on a piece of paper and then voila, it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Every building in that city, somebody imagined, dreamt, did it. You imagined one day you were going to do a podcast and you became hyper focused on it. And then here you are, you have a podcast. It's just how we do it. It's just feeling as if you have it, as if it's there, because everything you think about now is out there. All you have to do is slide over through those dimensions to get it. And once you tell the other side, this is who I am, this is how I am, if you want to be a rich person, start acting like a rich person. Stop saying that people with money are bad. Stop saying that you never get anything and you're never lucky. Stop saying those things. You got to start saying, you know what? I find money everywhere I go on the ground. I find pennies. I've used that experiment a million times and it works every time. Wake up in the morning and say, you know what? I am a man to change. I find change everywhere I go. And say that to yourself and believe that for that moment, and you'll find it all day long.
Mm-hmm.
And people say, well, you're just telling yourself and now you're exactly.
That's
You
the
tell
thing.
yourself something and then now you focus on it.
And acting as if, already believing it.
As
It's the
if.
thoughts, feelings, and beliefs are totally
And I
connected
know that's
with.
hard for people to do. And, I found it hard too, because when I wanted certain things, I'm like, how do I act like I have that when I don't?
I know.
And they said, well, you just have to know you have it. Really, you have to, for instance, I wanted, back when I wanted another cat, I remember there's some cats over my parents' house and some people were going to take them. So long story, but I came home and I was sitting with one of my cats. I was petting him and I started thinking about that little cat. And you know what, when you're going to be my cat, I said, you're so sweet and you're so precious. And I remember I felt those feelings of if that was my cat and I had that. And then I just kind of let it go when I was done. And the next day I have that cat. So, I mean, it's it doesn't always work that fast.
No. So I have a
But
question.
you have to be at least for a little bit, a couple times a day. Feel what it feels like. Like, how would you feel if you won $1 million? What do you think? You'd be like, you got to imagine, like you scratch that off and it says $1 million at that moment. And you go, my gosh, everything's okay now. I can do this. I got that. I'm going to do this. You just feel that excitement and know that excitement. And I'm not going to say you're going to win the lottery but what you are, those feelings are feelings of abundance. They're feelings of something that you want. So it might just start coming to you in other ways. So you might be, this is what I feel like with the lottery, but all of a sudden the next day you didn't win the lottery, but one of your friends paid you back to $2,000 they owed you. And then all of a sudden, you found out that you own a teapot that's worth, $15,000. And then people give you money, or you find money, or, you get abundance of some kind of wealth. Or if you're a podcaster, all of a sudden your views went up like 20,000 people overnight. As soon as you have that feeling, it comes to you, and you can't. Sometimes we try to write that book of who we are, and not knowing that sometimes there's something better for us, and the universe wants to give you that.
That's exactly what I'm like noticing. I'm like, I want to ask a question. I want to ask a question. You naturally went there because I've had so many experiences in life where I think I want this thing, that partner, that job, that whatever it is. And it's actually not that partner, that job. It's what that job represents. Like, the partner is love and the job is wealth and meaning. But, if I look at it, it was like, thank God I didn't get that
Yeah.
thing that I wanted. I got something different and better. So where I go with that is, let's say I want to get a certain job, or have a certain career. I start imagining, using your words, I start imagining what that feels like. And every day it's like imagining that this is, and I'm getting these experiences and so forth.
Yeah, the
And
law of assumption is totally feeling that. But then it brings in the other laws, which I'll talk about when you're done with your question. But then it brings in the other laws, which you have to enact with. One law doesn't do it. There's very many principles of these laws that all work together to bring you that. But all you need to know is like what to do, and it works.
okay. Well, my question is more, you're validating what I'm saying, that you think you want one thing. It's a quality of that thing that you start to live and feel and think and believe. And it's the thing that's more aligned with what you're supposed to be moving towards. That thing was just maybe the dangled carrot to get you there. That's what I'm hearing you say. Okay.
And once you drop that solid thing, like when you want something, you say you want that, well, then you do something what are referred to as the law of action, where just put a foot forward. Then once you think about it and you got it, it's like, well, let's look up. What would it be like to have that job? Or what kind of schooling goes in that job? As soon as you put one foot forward, I tell people, as soon as you put one foot forward, they will move the other foot. You just got to put that one foot forward, and they'll start taking you towards that goal of that feeling you want. They're going to give you something that's going to mimic and give you that exact feeling that you got when you wanted the job.
Okay.
You might get something better.
Exactly. So I'm going to sit back and just, teach us, continue with these different laws. You said it's not just one law. Keep going.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Let's start out with this. So as a formula to make this easy for people, because it gets spiritually wise, spiritual people talk to you and don't make it too confusing. There's something called the law of germination. So the law of germination is basically planting a seed. So when you plant that seed, according to the law of germination, it's there. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to wash away. It's nothing. It now needs to grow. So once you have the idea, let's use an example for an idea, like a relationship, a love relationship. So the law of germination, you want that love, so it's out there. The universe says, yeah, you planted that seed. We know you want it. Now you need to nurture that seed, and it will grow. And when it's grown, you will have what you want. You're like, oh, cool. So you put that out there. You keep thinking about it. That's part of the law of attraction. And it kind of goes into that law of attraction that you think about it, and what you think about it, law of attraction is basically like brings like. If you do things, bad things will always come to you. If you do good things will come to you. It's just how it works. It's like a magnet. The law of assumption says, kind of just feel like it. I mean, really feel like you already have it, So you start with germination, then you have the law of assumption where you're really feeling it like that. And then you think about it a lot as a law of attraction. And then you do the law of action, which is, you know what? I'm thinking about all these and all that. What can I do to help the universe get it to me faster? Oh, I know. I'm going to start going on dating. So I'm going to start thinking about the kind of people I want. I'm going to go home and think, you know what? I want someone who's going to make me feel like this. And then also in that situation, you also want to feel like that about yourself too.
Yes.
because I am not that spiritual person that tells you have to be completely healed in order to have a relationship. I think that is silly, because nobody is actually completely healed ever.
Exactly. Exactly.
But what I do think is that you do have to start, and you have to have respect for yourself. You have to like yourself. You have to say, you know what? I'm cool with being alone. This is all good. And when I find somebody, I want to find somebody that compliments me, that when I'm with them, they allowed me to be this and I allowed them to be, you start saying those things. Those people are going to start popping up all over the place. If you are one of those people, though, who said all my relationships were narcissists and da da da, and they go, well, I want to feel like this, but I have to say all my relationships are narcissists, that's going to negate everything you're doing. That's what you're going to get. So thank you for pointing. That's absolutely correct. You don't want to negate anything with a negative feeling. Because like I said, like Zamir said before, that all things are neutral. And we place whether it's negative or positive on it. But a lot of these things that we put negative feelings on, they're heavy and they
Yes.
get in the way. So,
Oh, yes.
you know what? Just tell yourself, you know what? No, that habit is broken. I'm done with that.
Mm,
I'm going to get something good. Because if you don't do that, the universe is really cool in this way. It's going to keep bringing you narcissists. And it's like, why do you keep bringing me narcissists? Because you won't tell them off. You need to tell them off. You need to tell them no. You need to say, I'm not putting up with that anymore. I'm done. I am a good person. I don't want anybody who is not a good person. Once you get that and that's your core belief now, that's not going to happen anymore.
mm,
But it's your core beliefs that you really need to pay attention to. Do we get every little thing we want? Well, yes, but it's not always in the way that we thought we got it.
right. How does that jive with soul's contracts? Because there are sometimes, people come into our lives that, let's go back to Stacey. Like
Our
people don't.
contracts are negotiable.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because just thinking about grief, like I don't want grief, but we're here to experience grief. I don't want someone I love to die of a horrible disease, but sometimes someone we love dies of a horrible disease. Like all sorts of, I could spend the next 4 days talking about circumstances we say we don't want and we don't want. And yet, tell me what you're about to say. All contracts are negotiable.
Thank you. Some people, most people who come in for this life, we agree upon parts of a collective consciousness. So while we're here, we're part of the collective that says trees exist, there's mountains, there's oceans, there's seas, this is round, this stuff is going to happen, that stuff's going to happen. We just agree to see that. That's there. I mean, I could sit here all I want and tell people trees don't exist. And when I'm in this lifetime, that's just not possible. Okay. Now, as far as contracts being negotiable, I don't mean it's negotiable about you don't have to follow your contract. It's how. Because when you come here, there's so much more to this, but I'm going to give a little example just so it understands. So I came here because maybe one of the things I came here with is I need to experience a loss of some sort. I'm not good with loss in other lives. So, so when you come here, it could be anything. Like say all your other loss from the other lives were all people. Okay. That doesn't mean you're going to come into your life and all the people around you are going to go, because that's not what they're doing. You're experiencing loss. So something being taken from you that you thought was yours. You might come in and be born a billionaire, and then by the time you're 50, all of a sudden it's gone. You went bankrupt and all that. So you have to learn what you have to figure out now for the rest of your lives, how you go through that, how you learn that. Now, during this life and this contract, so many different things can happen. You could lose a little early at some point, but gain and then lose it again. It doesn't matter. This life's just going to give you whatever lesson you need to go for it. That part's not negotiable. What's negotiable is how it happens, how the lesson is going to happen. We come upon lots of different circumstances for things. So I'm trying to think of a super good example that we answer the circumstances. So when people always tell me, "Oh, why did I get hit by that?" Like they didn't die, but why was I on my bike and I fell off it and I got hit by that car? And, when people said that's not, maybe that wasn't supposed to happen in your contract. Maybe you're supposed to be fine, but all of a sudden somewhere along the line, maybe you broke your legs and you couldn't use them anymore. That wasn't even part of your contract. Well, you knew there was a certain risk in certain situations and you took that risk. So that's going to happen. So the universe is going to still say, not to you, we won't realize this, but the universe is like, well, they'll be okay because they're still going to do their lesson. They walked into this, but now you might have had an option on the other side to say, there's some more stuff I want to learn. So if it comes around, let's just do it. And so maybe that car came around.
Mm-hmm.
Accident and you needed to learn something from it. Maybe you needed, who knows what you could, I don't know what one would possibly learn from breaking their legs and doing that.
Well, I would
Uh,
imagine a lot, though.
yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of things.
So
Yeah.
there are just a zillion different pathways they could take, and any one of them could help them help us arrive at those lessons and experiences. So they break their legs, they're in the hospital, they meet someone they otherwise wouldn't have met, they learn about compassion and service, or maybe they learn a little bit about resilience. Like there's lots of things that they could be learning.
Yeah. Let's say the one who is, let's say this person who broke their legs was a young man who was really looking for the love of his life and he was imagining it and he was going with it and he couldn't find it. And then he also had to learn about maybe being, maybe learning how to take care of himself and be courageous and brave and all this. So
Mhm.
maybe the chance of the car came up so he could learn that lesson. But like you said, while he's in the hospital, he meets a young lady or a young gentleman, whoever he likes, that loves them like, unconditionally. That's like, they just fall in love. And it's like, if that accident would have happened, I might not have met that person.
Right.
So sometimes things might need to happen in order for something later on that's happening. It's hard to think of it sometimes. Let's not think in time being at the same time. Okay. Because when we think of time being at the same time, that confuses a lot of things.
Yeah.
We are in a world where we experience linear time.
Mhm.
Even our reincarnations aren't literally the past. They're literally right now. You just step into it or step out of it, step in. But so down the road, there might be something written down there like you're supposed to meet this person for this purpose. And maybe you meet that person and maybe you both win a lottery and make tons of money. So you do all these things and then you lost all that money. So maybe that person wanted to learn loss again that way and they learn it different ways. There's all different ways things can happen. I think that when we're walking, I kind of look at it like this. When you see a situation that doesn't look too good or it looks promising, imagine a big field around it, a field of like, I don't know, light or just a field of something to delineate that section. And then tell yourself, if I get too close to that field, I'm going to be involved in that situation. And you just kind of ask yourself, is this something I want?
Mm.
That's why I tell people you have to become aware. And I think that's probably why she was talking about awareness before.
Mm.
You have to be aware of things. If you knew there's a bad crowd there, hopefully if you're aware enough, your gut or your inner you is going to go that way.
Yeah.
We're human beings. Sometimes we don't listen to that because we don't believe it. It's like, oh, I don't want to go that way because that way means I have to take the long way around and go another 3 blocks to get to where I'm going. I'm just going to go right through this. It's like, okay.
Well,
And the
it's
universe says,
interesting.
sure, go through the situation.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I know that my friend Kate will be listening, but I think particularly for people like her or myself who are empaths, the warning signs are there. You can look at that field and part of you with the awareness that is connected. This is how I think of it as your higher self is connected to like, beware. That is not healthy for me. But the empath, like the heart that goes, oh, but this person is suffering and they're asking for my help. So I'm going to put their needs above mine. And you continually step into being of service to others, but at the expense of yourself.
Yeah.
That's like the narcissism, repeatedly finding yourself. Both, I'm hearing the beginning part of like, yes, I want this, but God, I keep having these narcissists show up in my life. So that's one part of it. And the other is the self-awareness to say, I can see that that is not healthy for me. And yet my instinct to rescue or to love another person keeps putting me in harm's way.
Well, and it does, but that's only because you got to learn from it. They really, yeah. And it's funny that it's our oversoul or our higher self that's kind of directing us through there. And I don't know why we don't listen to that. I mean, I love my guides and I listen to my guides, but they've even said to me before, David, why don't you talk to you? And I'm like, oh, that's right. I know more about me than anybody does. My higher self does. So I ask. But they do put us in these situations at times. And we put ourselves in there, like with yours, with being a narcissist, like, well, I don't want the narcissist, but if I don't learn, I won't get the right one, but I really love people and that's why. It's like, well, that's just a conflicting thought. That's all it is, because the earth is full of polarization.
Yes.
But you know that you might need to learn that, just because you have a kind heart and you want to help someone who's a narcissist doesn't mean you need to help someone who's a narcissist. Because when you're doing that, you are now going against yourself. And I tell people all the time, you don't want to go against yourself. It's silly. If you are not good, if you are not whole, if you are not doing what you need to do, everybody else around you kind of suffers. Their stuff goes. So you want to do your thing. There's not one person on this planet right now that I know of who is here to save the world single-handedly. Yeah. You're not. And I always tell people, if you can't do something, it's as easy as I've had people contact me for readings and I tell my guides, I'm like, I'm not touching that one. I can't do it. There's something I can't do for that one. And they're like, okay, well, they can go to somebody else and get what they need from. And I'm like, cool, let's do that.
That's an example.
Done. Yeah, because it all depends on how somebody wants to get to someplace. Like if somebody says, there are people out there like relationship-wise, I want a relationship. Well, I'm going to go see a psychic and see where they're coming. I'm like, that's fine and dandy. And thank you guys for going to psychics and supporting us. But you know what? If you go to psychic once to get validation for what you're thinking or feeling, I get that. But when you come to a psychic every week to see, well, they're not here yet. Where is that person? And what exactly day is this going to be? And when is this person going to come into my life? It's like, you know what? If we told you all that information, you would sit in your chair and you would wait for that day and you would miss out on life. So that's why we don't always get that information. We have to keep going through. But, I forgot where I was going with this. It took me. It's okay. I've got so much going on in my head right now with these guys. I'm just listening. Thank you. You're supposed to honor yourself, he says. You honor yourself more than anything in the world. I know some people go, oh, when you come here, first honor is first and your children are second and you're third and all that stuff. It's like, no, all these things are the same. All these things. And I can't stress this enough. If people would just realize, no matter who you look like, they are an aspect of you. No matter that aspect of you and them is an aspect of the all, however you want to call God. For me, God is basically just all there is, everything. That's God. It's all. Can God put himself into one person to talk to you? Yes. And that's called maybe your next door neighbor who told you something really cool. That came from God, because everybody in a sense is the same as you. We're all connected by that tiny thread. There's an illusion of individuality. And when you go back, you're mushed into a big blob with a lot of other people to make another big blob. It's not like that. But you'll share thoughts, feelings, likes, love, hate. Well, not on those things. You'll feel those things together. That's where the oneness comes. And you can forfeit your identity whenever you want. But even if you forfeit your identity, you're not forfeiting your identity. You're just forfeiting all the lives that you've ever had. You're still becoming all there is again. So that's how it goes.
Wow. So who is coming through right now? Last time
I got a couple people are just chatting with me. So I was hoping, and I think he's kind of here, is I have a guy named Sedum, and it's odd how he showed up, but he showed up probably about not even a year after I came out of the coma. I woke up. I had this dream, and synchronicity wise, I kept all of a sudden seeing foxes everywhere I went. Fox, fox, fox. everything. And this is before all the phones were catching everything about, whatever we
Yeah.
talked about.
Yeah.
So see fox outside, which I never see in North Carolina. So I'd see a fox, or I'd see a movie about a fox, or somebody would say the word fox, or I'd meet somebody, their name would be Michael Fox or something like that. And I was like, what the hell is all this? And I went to bed, and all of a sudden, why I woke up to this skinny, I guess he's tall, a skinny guy, his way compared, a skinny guy. He was wearing almost like these clothes that were like made out of like buffalo skin or something like that. I mean, he wasn't actually kill a buffalo or nothing, but it's like had this arm things on, a buffalo skin, and this big buffalo hat. It reminded me almost of like the Flintstones.
That's exactly what I was imagining.
Yeah, that's what it looked
Grand
like.
Poobah.
Yeah, but it was white and brown. It was really pretty, and he had old. And I think I know he seemed an indigenous type, but there wasn't any specific to it. It wasn't like I'm part of this tribe, that tribe, or any tribe. He's like, this is just how I'm going to appear to you. And he's basically like, if you can imagine Barney Fife wearing all those things and just crazy and skinny, but just knowledgeable and strong. And that's kind of who he reminded me of. And I said, and I remember right before I woke up, I said, what's your name? And he went, and I just heard it as clear as day in my ear. I went, Sedum. And I woke up and I thought, oh, that was a weird dream. And I'm like, what the hell is Sedum? And so I went to look it up, and Sedum means autumn joy, and it's a flower. And it was in the fall that he came to me. It was like right in the middle of the fall, all the leaves are falling, all everything. And then as a little time went on, he kept telling me I had the dreams about the fox. He said, I am also the fox. So he's, Sedum to me is more like a fox as a spirit animal, but he shows me himself as that human type figure too sometimes. And one time I was talking to him, doing real deep meditation, and Ariel came in, which is the angel that I love talking to. She's the one who taught me how to talk to animals. And when she came in, it was really strange because she came in as a her. She came up, she's so beautiful. And she started talking to me about something, and I saw him just quietly pacing back and forth in the background, waiting for her to finish. It's like he had like this respect for her, and he was letting her do her thing. And he's a crazy, he's so crazy. He was the one who always says to me, does it matter? He's such a jerk sometimes. I'll ask a question about life or something like that, and he will say, does it matter? And the first time I asked the question, he gave me the answer. It came within a couple of days. It was so confusing. I was sitting there going, I went back home and I said, I don't understand any of this stuff you're giving to me. And he says, I know. He says, does it matter? And I said, well, it matters that I don't know what it is. And he goes, you can't understand it now. He said, it doesn't apply to you now. He said, you know all this information when you come back here. He said, so I'll ask you once again, does it matter? And I said, you know what? No, you're right. It doesn't matter, because it wasn't of any use to me. It was just information that I just wanted to know. But he said, you knew it already. And it was messing me up more than it was helping.
The more than it was helping. What thematically is Sedum providing? What lessons does he give you?
Does he do? Oh my gosh, he is my Mr. Brightside. He can get you out of any situation. He's usually the ones who comes in when people have situational stuff and they ask me about it. He's right there. And he says it in such a he's kind of like Zamir. He says it in a very, the personalities are different, but he's in a very human form. He gives it to me. They tried to give it to me and like as if like and all these big words and all that. And the problem with David, the channel, is that David, the channel, if I hear the word, I'll ask myself right away, what does that mean? And I break the channel. So they just started giving it to me in like normal, normal
just
ways.
common language.
So maybe I'll work on that. And by the time I'm 80, I'll be able to say all kinds of stuff I've never heard about before in my life. But I don't know. But Sedum helps with a lot of stuff like that. He is the bringer of good news. He is also the guy who, when I ask, he's a lot about nature.
Okay.
I believe he's around the fox. He comes in as a fox when I'm communicating with spirits, elementals. Um, he did something really cool not long ago on a podcast I do with one of my friends out of Canada. It's called The Thing at the Foot of the Bed, and we talk about all kinds of crazy paranormal stuff. There was a section where she was talking about something that happened to her long ago. My podcast partner, she's talked about all these deer and everything that were lined up against the road when she went down. It was a memory she'll never forget. And then the whole thread, we all started talking about deer and deer spirit animals and going on and on. And I went to bed, and the next day I woke up to a dream from Cedar. And I was like, but he came as the fox, and it's almost like I remember he gave me a wing. I was like, what's the wing? Anyway, I came into my office here where I'm sitting, and I sat down, and I looked out. I got this little woods by me. It's between two houses. I look outside. There is a huge deer just standing there. I have never, ever saw a deer in this area in the 2 years I've lived here. And I got out my phone, I took a picture. I'm like, Lori, look what Cedar brought me. And it was the coolest thing. And it's funny, people go, well, how did they manifest a deer to come over to help you and do that? And I said, the only way I can describe it is how it works is like how I told you when your loved ones give you signs. It's almost like they're whispering to you while you're sleeping on the other side. And then
Yeah.
you make the sign and you see it. That's that law again, where it reflects what you feel.
Yes.
So that deer must have really touched me that night because he brought it back. He also brought it back too, probably because the meaning behind the deer. I was
Which
supposed to
is?
know that I was being protected and I was
Mm.
okay, and that all these other. So,
Mhm.
and that was very important at that time too. So it's all very quite synchronistic. Some people will never understand this in their life because not everybody's like me where they're thinking these things, and that's okay. You don't have to. Some people just want their normal. Want to wake up, pay attention to TV, jobs, and go through my stuff and just go home. I don't care about the woohoo and the aliens and this and that. I just
There are a
want to
lot of
live.
people
And
like that, which is fine.
yeah, and you got to let him be. Yeah, you
Yeah.
go ahead and be that. Sedum had told me a long time ago, if he quoted Rumi, because that's how I found it.
I love Rumi. Yeah.
He quoted Rumi, and I didn't know who Rumi was at the time. And he said to me, sometimes you have to let them sleep. And
That's
I
so
went,
good.
what?
That's
And
so
then I
good.
went and I was like, I typed that in. I'm like, where's that from? And that was from Rumi. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So, and it's true. You can't put people like nowadays, though, they're waking people.
Well, let's go back to that. If you can ask Sedum if he's here. We did this last time with Zamir.
Zamir.
Does he have any particular messages that he wants us to hear?
No, you can't. I'll just say it. He was getting close, and I was like, well, I was going to let him speak, but I won't know how to come back out of it. So he's going to dictate. Okay. So what? Sedum says he's a consciousness that most people have. And this I kind of know, but you see me how you need to see me. You feel me how you need to feel me. Everybody has a sedum, he says. Everybody in their own way, whatever they call it. I'm like your best friend that gets you in and out of trouble. But he said, when I get you into trouble, it's simply for the lesson of learning something. And he said, you can argue with me all you want. You already told me your lessons before you got here. Okay, thank you. I get that. What will you want people to know? You're making it too hard. He said, it's a lot easier than you think. Sure, what you have to go through is difficult. But he said, if you turn back into yourself and go within, you'll find that there's an answer and a reason for that. It will help calm your soul. I appear to you as a fox because I want to let you know that no matter whether there's trouble or not, he said, I know how to run and hide, and so do you. And he said, you only do that to protect yourself for a minute, but you venture out and forget it ever happened. He said, you'd be the way of the fox. It's hard to catch a fox, he says. You don't just run through life. Make sure, he's talking like a fox. Make sure you run through life. He said, make sure you sit at the creek, at the base of the creek, at the side of the creek, and observe all the things around you and observe the beauty while you're here. He said, otherwise you'll miss it.
Mm.
And he said, and when you come back here, you'll say, oh, I forgot to feel that when I was there. And he said, and then you'll have to come back or you'll step into it. So he said, make sure, say that again. So make sure that you do exactly what you want to do. Make sure that everything you do brings joy to your heart. Whenever you make a decision about what to do, if the decision includes what's best for you and all involved in that decision, it is automatically the right decision. There's no need for revenge on this earth. He said, I wish people understood that. He said it's such a trait in humans that they've been trying to, I don't know how to put that, genetically get out, I guess, like to take out of people. He said it comes in the teachings early on. You're nothing but clay when you get here, and then everybody else molds you. Once you become their sculpture, he said that's usually the time, which he laughs about, where you wake up and you realize, well, this is their sculpture, it's not mine.
God.
And he said, and then you remold yourself. Some people, he said, catch on early. Some people do not. Some people aren't meant to.
Mm. God, so good.
Thank you. Okay.
God, thank you. Thank you. That's incredible. Is Ariel there?
Oh, Ariel's always here. So Ariel's everywhere. Everybody's got Ariel. So trust me, you guys can talk to Ariel whenever you want to. Ariel's so cool. What would you like to know about it? Ariel is telling me she wants to bring back the dance. Thank you. Nah, you have to go slower, sweetie. She bowed her head and she said, whatever happened to dancing? Why don't we bring the dance? When she speaks of that, she said that she speaks of the movement that people, the beautiful movement we have. She said, there's beauty in every movement of every person. She said, why don't you guys see that in all? You only see it in the choice few because you only see it because that's what you were taught, the beauty. But in reality, everything has beauty. That is what I wish. I also wish that people would realize their courage. There isn't anything that anybody's ever done to you that you cannot get over.
Mm.
She said, sometimes we do it in the lifetime that they're in, and sometimes they do it here. She said, it really doesn't matter. But she said, if you do it here, it opens you up for extra experiences that you wanted to have, but weren't quite sure if you were supposed to. Like the water as it flows. She's describing how when water goes, and I get it, but when water goes, it like carves a pathway. She said, you are your own water. You have to carve your own pathway. She said, water does not give up. If you see water on the ground and it hits a rock, she said, the water finds a way around the rock and continues. She said, find a way around your rocks and continue. At the end of this stream is the ocean. The ocean is where you long to be, and that's what we're coming back to. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
She's hard to understand. Usually she channel writes with me, so it's a lot easier to channel.
Well, I
But it's hard
appreciate you doing that. That was so beautiful. We are getting very close to time, and I want to go back to what you said, which was your guys are often saying, David, you know you more than anyone. So I asked last time, I'm going to ask this time. David Hanzel, what do you want us to know today?
My biggest hang up, I think, it's important while you're here to know who you're from, your ancestry and everything. But when you strip away the race, the gender, the color, the brown hair, the black hair, big nose, small nose, eyeglasses, everybody's exactly the same. And if we could just see everybody as that, everybody has their own individual beauty. And I think sometimes that our perception of beauty is so warped. We had decided a long time ago what a man was supposed to look like, what a woman was supposed to look like. And then we didn't deviate from that for so long. And then we took it even further and said, this is what they're supposed to act like. And if I could tell anybody this, I always laugh because I tell people when I talk about, and the other side, there's no gender. So all you gender hating people, too bad, suffer. There is, um, we are just us, and we need to kind of be that. We understand from the roles, but none of this stuff actually, once you leave here, it doesn't make any sense. When people talk about their ancestors here, they think like they've been like European in every single life they've ever written, and that's your ancestry. And that's not true. It changes from place to place. And if you could just realize that where you're in is temporary, enjoy it, discover it, and envelop yourself, but let everybody else do that too. You have to let everybody else go on their journey. And the last thing, if I can say it real quickly, I was listening to something with Neil Tyson deGrasse, whatever, the scientist.
Mm-hmm.
And Chelsea Handler, somebody who I love, was asked him about, did he believe in God? And he was saying, well, if I believed in God, I have to believe, according to these people, that God makes mistakes, or that God is cruel because he lets millions of thousands of people die and all these other things. And even my mom said to me yesterday, she said, David, God called so-and-so back home. And I said, Mom, you know better. And it's the same thing I would say to Neil Tyson. God doesn't call you home. That is a choice that you made. God doesn't kill people. That is a choice that we made. We do all. God is. He said God is either very, very all-powerful or very dumb because he lets people die and makes mistakes. No. God is just all of this. There is no mistakes. Everybody is who they are for the purpose of being here. God, in its sense, is mostly all light. But yes, God knows of evil. God knows of all the opposites. God knows of all those things. So in a sense, yes, God is all those things. God is every emotion there ever was, every person who ever lived, every tree that ever grew, every flower that ever opened up in the sunlight. That is God. And that is you.
So great. So great. So wise. Thank you. Thank you, as always. Thank you.
How I Made It Through is produced and distributed by EIQ Media, LLC. Elevate your emotional IQ with podcasts and content focused on overcoming adversity, leadership, mental health, entrepreneurship, spiritually transformative experiences, and more.